Hi, it's Joe and Rosie. We're at the Chalkley Bayou Preserve.
Hi everyone, good to see you back at the bayou. We are going to be talking about some of the big plants in Michigan today. We're going to talk about the pine trees. And quite happily, we have examples of the pines that are present in the UP very close together here. So pine trees are conifers, which means they're cone bearing. And among the conifers, the way we know it's a pine tree is that the needles are put on the tree in clusters. They're called fascicles. So you can see that they're sort of clustered here rather than individually attached. The other way you can tell that it's a pine tree is that its pine cone is woody rather than soft. Other conifers have soft pine cones. So we're standing in front of, right here, a red pine, and there's several ways to tell that it's a red pine. One is, if you can see, there's a red tinge to the bark, and it's a very craggy, scaly bark that no other pine has. We also can see that in the fascicle there are two needles, and that's very characteristic of the red pine. They're also kind of robust and stiff. This is the red pine cone, kind of small for such a big tree. It usually doesn't get bigger than about 2 inches. And so that's the red pine. Right next to it, we have a white pine. And the white pine is the state tree of Michigan. It can grow 70, 100 feet tall. It lives a long time. And it's distinguished from the red pine by the fact that in its fascicle, there are 5 needles, occasionally 4, but never less than that. Also, the bark is smoother and more gray. There's not the red tinge. And the white pine has a much bigger cone, more slender and elongated, and it can be 4 to even up to 10 inches long in the really big ones. That's the white pine, and we're going to walk right over here and see our third pine, which is the jack pine. Now the jack pine is a little bit sadder looking tree, tends to be smaller, sort of irregular, kind of scrubby looking, but it's very hardy. It's drought tolerant and it's cold tolerant, and it needs fire. We'll talk about that. It also has 2 needles in its fascicle, but they're much shorter than the red pine that also has 2. But very distinctive are the pine cones. These are not ripe yet, they're still green, but you can see the curve of the cone to the point, and that's very specific to the jack pine. They also point down the branch. They're also special in that to open and scatter the seed, they take fire or very high temperatures. So a fire can sweep through, even kill the adult trees. The cones will open, scatter their seed, and the jack pines will regenerate the fire space faster than almost anything. So they're a very good tree to have around if you're having fires. So that's all for today here in the bayou. Rosie and I will see you next time when we're rambling again. Good night.